Once upon a time, there lived a poor widow and her son Jack. One day, Jack's mother told him to sell their only cow. Jack went to the market, and on the way, he met a man who wanted to buy his cow. Jack asked, "What will you give me in return for my cow?" The man answered, "I will give you 5 magic beans." Jack took the magic beans and gave the man the cow. But when he reached home, Jack's mother was very angry. She said, "You fool! He took away your cow and gave you some beans." She threw the beans out the window. Jack was very sad and went to sleep without dinner. The next day, when Jack woke up in the morning and looked out of the window, he saw that a huge beanstalk had grown from his magic beans. He climbed up the beanstalk and reached a kingdom in the sky. There lived a giant and his wife. Jack went inside the house and found the giant's wife in the kitchen. Jack said, "Could you please give me something to eat? I am so hungry." The kind wife gave him bread and some milk. While he was eating, the giant came home. The giant was very big and looked very fearsome. Jack was terrified and went and hid inside. The giant cried, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." The wife said, "There is no boy in here." So the giant ate his food and then went to his room. He took out his sack of gold coins, counted them, and kept them aside. Then he went to sleep. In the night, Jack crept out of his hiding place, took 1 sack of gold coins, climbed down the beanstalk. At home, he gave the coins to his mother, and his mother was very happy, and they lived well for some time. Then Jack climbed the beanstalk and went to the giant's house again. And once again, Jack asked the giant's wife for food. But while he was eating, the giant returned. Jack leapt up in fright and went and hid under the bed. The giant cried, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." And the wife said, "There is no boy in here." The giant ate his food and went to his room. There he took out a hen. He shouted, "Lay!" And then the hen laid a golden egg. And when the giant fell asleep, Jack took the hen, and then he climbed down the beanstalk. And Jack's mother was very happy with him. After some days, Jack once again climbed the beanstalk and went to the giant's castle. For the 3rd time, Jack met the giant's wife and asked for some food. Once again, the giant's wife gave him bread and milk. But while Jack was eating, the giant came home. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread," cried the giant. "Don't be silly. There is no boy in here," said his wife. The giant had a magical harp that could play beautiful songs. And while the giant slept, Jack took the harp and was about to leave. Suddenly, the magic harp cried, "Help, master! A boy is stealing me!" The giant woke up and saw Jack with the harp. Furious, he ran after Jack, but Jack was too fast for him. He ran down the beanstalk and reached home. The giant followed him down. Jack quickly ran inside his house and fetched an axe. He began to chop the beanstalk. The giant fell and died. Jack and his mother were now very rich and they lived happily ever after. Did you know Jack and the Beanstalk is actually one of the oldest fairy tales we have? Some folklorists have traced this story back 5,000 years. Think about how significant that is. As a species, we've created countless stories over time, but most of them become lost and forgotten. In actuality, it is incredibly rare to have a story last for a few hundred, let alone a few thousand years. This means to me that there are elements of Jack and the Beanstalk that are significant to the human spirit, and I believe speak loudly to personal power. So, let's explore. It's difficult to imagine what human consciousness would have been like 5,000 years ago. We have so little evidence of our world back then to pull from. We can only speculate. And I often speculate that our conscious awareness was much more grounded in visionary, symbolic nature back then. Even Rudolf Steiner, who studied the Bible from a visionary lens rather than an intellectual lens, was able to understand its messaging in a completely unique way. It seems to me that the older the story, the more we need to aim to sense the story through our own visionary understanding, to remove the boundaries of language and life the way we know it today, and open to what is possible beyond now. Jack and the Beanstalk is an incredible story. I mean it. Magic beans, castles in the sky, golden eggs and giants. What absolute nonsense. And yet, we continue to tell this story over and over and over again. Because it means something. What does it mean? Well, let's use our visionary nature to explore the meaning and symbolism alive in it, shall we? Let's start with the obvious, the bean, which can also be seen as a seed of sorts because they represent the same thing, potential. That from a bean small enough to hide in the hand can grow a beanstalk bigger than a house. And you would have never known by looking at that tiny bean that something so grand and powerful could grow from it. And that there represents something in you, doesn't it? In fact, we can say all human beings are beans of potential, and that from each one of us, something magnificent and affecting can grow out of us through our character, our ideas, our actions, our whole life. However, I am getting a little ahead of myself because the stalk represents a ladder to personal power, and more on this later, but that means the bean holds something even more significant than potential. It holds sincere curiosity. Sincerity and curiosity are the ingredients we need in order to discover anything at all. Only when we are sincerely ready to explore ourselves can we truly investigate and discover ourselves. And this is the beginning of your journey to finding and owning your own personal power. Now, have you ever noticed that the beanstalk looks quite similar to the build of a spine? Remember, we are using our visionary nature to understand this story. And the spine controls both voluntary and involuntary movements, such as lifting your hand and breathing. The spinal cord, which runs through the spine's spinal canal, carries messages between the brain and the body. Your spine is really so much of your life. Just the scientific function alone is enough to hold it in sincere reverence, especially when we focus in on the fact that it is the bridge between the brain and the body. It is your power center. It is the gateway that marries your inner world, your brain, and your outer world, your body. And so with this in mind, we can see the story in a new way. First, we plant the bean. We sense and hold our own sincere curiosity for ourselves. And then a stalk grows up and we climb it. Internally, this can represent a journey within, wherein we engage in an internal struggle in order to discover something. Externally, it can represent a physical struggle, like climbing a mountain to see a beautiful view, or working overtime for a promotion, or building something. We know that when we engage in struggle, we develop resilience, strength, confidence, and discipline. These are necessary badges of honor to collect before we move on to the next step, which is the discovery of some golden coins. The golden coins in this story represents value. And it happens that we often first encounter our own personal revelations, insights, and inner value accidentally as we struggle along in life. And this is what happens to Jack. Out of curiosity, he climbs the stalk and comes upon the golden sack of coins. He did not know that when he began his climb that he was on his way to find gold. However, the value of the gold did not last very long, and Jack realized soon enough that he would have to return up the beanstalk, and this time retrieve the hen that lays the golden eggs. So, the hen itself represents a process by which value is born out of. Just as a hen uses fertilization, incubation, and hatching in order to birth its egg healthily, we must, through our own willingness to discover, find a process that we can use in order to find and birth value out of ourselves. This can be done through different therapeutic practices, shadow integration, or any other process by which you can discover, harmonize, and unite with what you have found. Internally, this can be discovering a part of you that was hiding. For example, maybe you have always loved to sing, but somewhere along the way, you might have been ridiculed or discouraged and therefore convinced yourself that you hate singing, and maybe you even hate all singers and decide that they're evil. Maybe you even build up a narrative around what it means to be a singer so that you never become one, and therefore never experience the pain of being mocked for doing something you love. However, by way of internal exploration, you remember you love singing after all, and now you must engage in that internal struggle of having each part of you, the part of you that has decided all singers are evil, and the part of you that loves singing. You have them wrestle with each other by way of internal dialogue or journaling until they have united. And then you have now claimed the value of your singing voice and are free to share it with yourself and the world. And this works just as well with external processes, such as the process of baking bread or working for money. Once you have done any process a few times, and that you learn most of the time it works, then you are able to go within and seek value in any form, in revelation, talents, convictions, etc. I always say that life is a series of ongoing processes, and the more that we can embrace, develop, and work in tandem with these processes, the more masterful and we can become in our energy and our being and our actions. However, life does not merely revolve around processes and perceived value. Even after Jack returns with the hen, he and his mother are financially secure, but there is still something missing. His mother remains unfulfilled, and even though they have their needs met, they lack something else. They lack music. So, Jack goes up the stalk a final time in order to retrieve the harp. And the harp represents beauty, the way we feel when we look at a garden, listen to music, or read poetry is something that feeds us metaphysically as well as physically. And it extends to more than just art. It extends to merriment, gathering with loved ones, celebrations, being able to hear and dance to life's music no matter the circumstance. Because the truth is, you can have all the wealth and safety in the world, but without spiritual fulfillment, love, and dancing, what is the point? And so, Jack returns up the stalk into the castle, which represents the mind. So inside the castle, there are two giants, a man and a woman. We can see this as the masculine and feminine parts of the psyche, or a representation of each hemisphere. In this story, we see the wife, the feminine right hemisphere, is a healthy representation of that hemisphere, in that she aims to help Jack in his mission. She feeds him and keeps him safe, just as we should do for ourselves. However, the husband is not so healthy and quite literally aims to eat Jack. We can see this part of the psyche as the internal masculine left hemisphere that has become unhealthy and is trying to stop Jack from retrieving the value that he sought. When our internal hemispheres are unbalanced or lacking in health, we can turn on ourselves. We can get in our own way. We can self-sabotage. We can become neglectful or tyrannical within ourselves, which can keep us from receiving the inner and outer value that we are seeking. In the story, Jack kills the male giant before cutting down the stalk. However, I'd like to rework this element with an integrative perspective. Since the giants represent a part of you, you cannot kill off any part of yourself, can you? You can, however, make it healthy. For example, an unhealthy internal mother can make it so that you don't take proper care of yourself, like eating healthy, feeling loved, cleaning and decorating yourself in your life, developing internal vision, sowing words and feelings of support and care. So instead, you might neglect yourself, speak ill of yourself, eat garbage, not sleep, not wash, not engage with that which brings you true joy and true comfort. A healthy internal father will motivate you, teach you the power of resilience and discipline, help you achieve your goals and meet your responsibilities. It will show you how to depend on yourself so that others can depend on you too. But if it is unhealthy, it can berate you, work you sick, fail your responsibilities, destroy the things you love, including yourself. And when these elements of ourselves and our internal dialogue are healthy, integrated, working together, and therefore working for you, then you will find that your inner and outer processes occur with greater ease and support. However, it doesn't mean we should always aim for or manufacture ease if that's not what's naturally available. Remember, struggle is also an important element in this story and our own lives. The key is always to take what life is giving in the moment. Meet yourself exactly where you are and work from there. It is the only way. And with that, you have everything you need, don't you? Sincere curiosity, a willingness to struggle, processes by which to birth value, beauty and music, and of course, healthy inner giants who love you.